skipping lunch is not sacrificing for your sport. You know, taking a day off work isn't sacrificing for your sport. Using your vacation time to go to a meet is not sacrificing for your sport. You'll know when you're sacrificing for your sport because have I ever felt my passion slip away from training? I've been doing this shit since '83. Yeah. I would not be human if I sat here and told you I was passionate about training every fucking day of my life. You know, that's not how it works. You know, if people were wired that way, and anybody that tells you any differently is full of shit. You know, but if people were wired that way, that they woke up and they were passionate for what they love every single day of the week, every single day of the year, they're lying. You know, it doesn't. If that was the case, then it would be easy. And the shit's not easy for anybody. So there's going to be days where you don't want to train. You know, there's going to be lifts that you don't like to train. I still hate the fucking deadlift. I hated it when I competed. I hated it now. That's never going to change. It doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that I could get away with not doing the deadlift. You know, I still had to do the deadlift in meets and occasionally in training. But, you know, you're fooling yourself if you think that you're going to wake up every day and love what you do. You know, that's true with anything, man. That's true with work. That's true with relationships. That's true with anything. Everything takes work. Everything takes hard work. You know, if put it this way, if marriage takes hard work, you know, and it's supposed to be a life partner and somebody that you love and will be with for the rest of your life, look at how hard that is and how much work goes into that. You know, if that takes that much work and you have somebody working on it with you, you know, as a partner, then why would it be any easier? You know, because the weights don't talk back. Yeah, I understand that. I mean, that's the greatest thing about it. The weights don't bitch about anything, you know, so that's great. You know, it's a great thing, but they still fuck you up. They'll tear muscles. You'll get injuries. There's going to be a lot of things that you need to overcome, especially if you're new into the game. There's so many things you need to overcome if you're going to be in this sport for longevity, for 15, 20 years. Things that you have no idea that you're going to have to overcome that most people don't. And that's why, you know, my estimate is that I've kind of formulated with, you know, intermediate to advanced bodybuilders, more intermediate. The lifespan for a top intermediate strength athlete is about 3 to 5 years. They're passionate about it. They're passionate as hell about it while they're doing it. You know, they're most of the trolls on the internet. They're most of the ones that are calling everybody else out. I mean, it's 100% all they do. It's all they think about. It's all they live. That's why they talk all that shit. That's why it's everything that they live for. That's why they, you know, then something happens. They get a new job, they have a kid, they get married. You know, something gets in the way. Then they're not so hardcore anymore, they quit. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Everybody's going to have different chapters in the book. You know, but people need to think about that shit. You know, when they're out there running their mouth, you know, and bitching to other people who've been doing it for 15, 20 years, you know, trying to act like they know it all, you know, when they've only been really at it for 3 to 5 years and they haven't really been tested, they haven't been injured, they haven't had to really sacrifice shit. You know, skipping lunch is not sacrificing for your sport. You know, taking a day off work isn't sacrificing for your sport. Using your vacation time to go to a meet is not sacrificing for your sport. You'll know when you're sacrificing for your sport because it's going to hurt. You know, most of the people that are running their mouth and are talking, they never hurt. They never hurt for their sport. And I'm not talking physically hurt, mentally hurt, you know, and physically hurt. And knowing how to work hard. You know, as soon as a lot of these guys need to work hard, they're out. You know, yeah, they have passion. And I've always said passion trumps everything. And it does when it's real and it's from the heart. You know, when it's from the head, it don't trump shit. You know, so yeah, it's work. It's work. And there's going to be days you're not going to want to train. You still need to find a way to train. You know, those are the days you set PRs. You know, there's going to be other days that you really, really want to train and you get into the gym and the shit ain't clicking, man. It ain't feeling right. And then you need to back it down because you got to listen to your body more than you need to listen to your brain. You know, and that's the key thing. If you're listening to your brain to try to overcome a lot of this shit and not listening to your body, then you're going to get hurt. So sometimes your brain will play tricks on you. You won't want to train, but then you go in the gym and you have a great workout, you know, and you have a great session and it moves you forward. You know, and that's exactly what you needed to do and what you were supposed to do and what you're actually required to do, because that's what makes great lifters great. You know, but the other part that makes great lifters great is when they go in the gym and they feel awesome and they're working up and something doesn't feel right. And then they back it down or do something else or they cut the day. So, yeah, there's going to be days you're not going to have passion. But passion isn't supposed to be a full-time thing. Passion is an emotional state. Happiness is an emotional state. It's not a full-time emotion, or it's not a full-time outlook. If it was, then what would be happy? You know, if passion was a full-time thing, then how would you define passion if it was all there all the time?